All right, guys. Episode 14, Heart of the Order. Oh, I don't even know what to say about the beginning of this episode, guys. I really don't know what to say. Um,
Say hi. How about that?
hey guys. I always forget to, I always just get right into it. You know me, Barry. You know me.
I feel
Um,
you.
how you guys doing today? How you guys doing? Good?
I'm good. I'm in
No,
my golf. I'm in my golf get up. I played 9 today,
There
so
you go. There you go. What'd you shoot? 50 and over?
yeah, I don't remember. I started off hot. Things went
you,
south.
you
We picked
don't
it back
remember.
up.
You don't remember.
No, I played pretty well today. Today was definitely the best I played, but one or two holes I fell apart
I'll
on.
do
And
it
I
to you.
can't have that. So
There you go. It's just how it happens sometimes. It's how it happens. All right, guys. So last week's episode was called Players versus Owners. Basically, when the details of the first deal between the owners and the Players Association came out, it was basically the owners were trying to screw over the players. Correct? Is that a proper way of kind of
Yes. Yeah, I would say.
describing it? Okay.
didn't
So
even take them out to dinner.
did he take one dinner?
Just getting them over.
So the two sides met again this week, and it seems like nothing has changed, guys. I mean, from my perspective at least, it doesn't seem like anything has changed. News came out that the main part of the new owner's proposal was that the highest paid players in the league would basically take the biggest pay cuts for this season, which they predict to be an 82 game season over the course of between July and November, I believe it is. And this just sparked absolute outrage since then. Max Scherzer's come out and said that they shouldn't even get to the table. They shouldn't even go to the table now to discuss this. What are your thoughts on this whole situation? Brooksy, we'll go with you first because I know Dre's gonna rant for like 5 minutes. So Brooksy, we'll start with you.
Strangely, I've been more pessimistic in the last few weeks, but somehow, I have a feeling in my gut that, negotiations like this, they never happen or rarely happen during the season. A lot of times it's in the off season where the players aren't as tuned in.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know anything about CBA discussions or negotiations, but I feel like most of them start with some pretty absurd, insulting offers.
Yeah.
And I definitely in no way I lost a lot of respect for the owners even bringing that to the table. But I think Max Scherzer or I think it was his tweet or somebody else's, but the players are going to come forward with something, I think, by the end of this week.
Yeah.
Which maybe by the time that this gets out, maybe we know what that offer is and what that entails. But I think that this is part of the negotiation dance. First, the owners spit in the players' face, then the players more respectfully spit in the owner's face, and then hopefully they go from there and come to some sort of agreement. But I'm more optimistic because I think I can figure out a way in which, or not figure it out. I think I was reading up on different things. I think this is a way where all the people's needs could be best served. Because I think this is a point where everybody is going to be dissatisfied.
Yeah.
We just have to achieve not necessarily equity in the dissatisfaction, but within a range of fair dissatisfaction.
Okay.
And I think so far what the owners proposed is horrific. And I think what the players have in mind may not be horrific, but it's definitely not what the owners like.
Yeah.
But I think there's some leeway here in which we can find something.
See, that was the one thing that I saw after all this news came out was that this offer was basically just the beginning. It was the first part of a negotiation, and everyone knows when you start a negotiation, you always bid or you always give it so that it's 100% beneficial in your situation.
Mm-hmm.
In this situation, it was this first offer was 100% beneficial in the owner's situation. So like there could be a back and forth here. But this is what Scherzer said. I just found the tweet. I want to go over this. So, after discussing the latest developments with the rest of the players, there's no reason to engage with MLB in any further compensation reductions. We have previously negotiated a pay cut in the version of prorated salaries, and there's no justification to accept a second pay cut based upon the current information the union has received. I'm glad to hear other players voicing the same viewpoint and believe MLB's economic strategy would completely change if all documentation were to become public information.
So he's basically calling for the owners to open the books, right?
Yes.
Good.
Good.
Let's just put that in terms right now, because that's 100% of the problem.
Yeah. No one knows how much the owners are losing in this situation.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's what the players. If you're paid $35 million, you're set to lose $27.2 million.
Yeah.
If you're paid $10 million, you're set to lose 7.1. And then if you make a mil, you're making league minimum, which is, $434K. Like, You're sacrificing all this money. What the hell are the owners sacrificing? Like, we don't know that. And that's, to me, that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
They cut salaries all the time. We see it with the Pirates. We see it in all small market teams. We saw it with the Red Sox when they trade away Mookie Betts. Owners literally do this all the time, but no one says anything, especially even now that the big market teams are doing it, because that threshold, that luxury tax. But now, in a sense of economic hardship, they're going to cry economic hardship without actually showing what their economics are. Like, how hard of a loss are you taking? Because if you're taking that bad of a loss and the percentage of a $27.2 million where that player has earned that money and he's just going to give it away to line your pockets, that'd be fine if we knew exactly how much you were losing.
Mm-hmm. And as crummy as it is, or sorry, you go.
I was just going to say it'd be easy to side with the owners in that point. And me, I've been pro player throughout this entire thing. But if we come to some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Some sort of like openness, I guess. If we find what's open regarding the owners and what they're losing, then it'd be easier to side with them and say, you know what, the players should probably play because the owners are losing this much money.
Yeah, and I think that, or Greg, you go.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think like the degree for some owners, some teams are going to lose a whole lot more than other teams.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like that's like an interesting nuance to it. And I feel like thinking in terms of like because I feel like if anything, I've probably been like the most conflicted with this whole thing because like I definitely am a billionaire bootlicker, but I like find myself like sort of being a little bit of like the devil's advocate. But that's where my like mind's at with this. I definitely am like pro player, but I'm sort of thinking like, okay, well, how can we get a deal? Because if it doesn't represent the owner's interests, they're not going to do anything. And as crummy as it is with how shady they are, they're not going to open the full books.
No.
But hopefully they could like provide something to give further proof. Because was that what Scherzer's tweet said? Until we see further proof.
Yeah, they need like he said they need further information. They said that I'm glad to hear other players voicing the same viewpoint. He believes MLB's economic strategy would completely change if all documentation were to become public information. Which I take that as if everyone knew what the owners were losing, then the owners would probably change their strategy 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And if they did, honestly, it wouldn't just affect now. I think it would affect the years coming down whenever baseball and the world is right back where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Everyone filling up stadiums. If we saw exactly how much the owners made and how much they're set to lose and et cetera, There'd be crazy riots with these small market teams, especially teams like the Pirates, Tampa Bay Rays, Oakland Athletics, where Oakland and Tampa are two teams trying to get new stadiums so they don't have to relocate. And the owners aren't trying to pay that. But if we saw how much they make in their quote-unquote small market teams, there'd be complete outrage.
Yeah.
It'd be chaos. But we need that transparency. We deserve that transparency. The players more than anyone deserves that
I
transparency.
think the owners are scared of that transparency because in no other sport is the players union as strong as it is in baseball.
Yeah.
So like the owners, I feel like just with, and it's like crummy, but like just where the players are like, okay, we're never going to do a salary cap. I feel like the owners are also like our books and like what we're actually like where we're at financially. That's our thing that we're protecting. That's our utmost piece. And like it's at the point now where they have to, I hope they realize the gravity of it, where if you don't attempt to come anywhere in the middle, then like who knows what's going to happen next year. And when the CBA's up, it's going to get super ugly.
So I was driving around today after I got off of work, and I was driving home, and I was just thinking about this whole situation, thinking about everything that's going on, thinking about what we're going to talk about tonight, thinking about what I'm going to say. And I was kind of putting the pieces together. So we've all come to an agreement, and it's basic information, that a lot of owners' revenue comes from ticket sales, correct? From fans being in the stadium, concession stands, things like that. That idea alone put another idea in my head. What if at this point in the season that we're coming up to, what if it is in better interest of the owners to not have a season whatsoever, to not have to pay players, to not have anything, and just take the losses?
Well,
what if they're just protecting themselves? What if they don't want a season, so they're just offering this outrageous contract to start so they don't take it and there's no baseball? Like, what if they're trying to sabotage themselves?
I don't think they can because they're contractually obligated to pay the players their full salaries. I think the whole thing right now is that the owners are approaching the MLBPA to, come to some sort of resolution because of the fact they're set to lose this money. And they don't want to pay their full salaries because they want to try and recoup some, and this is the best way possible. But the problem is they're asking for so much without giving up anything in return. And as a player, you're like, this is shady as hell.
Yeah.
So if they want to sabotage the season, go ahead, but they will lose the most money that they ever won. Let's not get it twisted here. The players and the fans, more so the fans need this season.
Yeah. 100%.
No matter what. The players need this season. But the players are actually safe because they've signed contracts.
Yeah.
Whereas the owners, they need a season. And if they don't have a season, they're set to take the hardest loss of all. The problem is their greed is getting in the way.
Yeah, your point was really good. And I think what was the one thing I was just going to say? The one like big risk, or before I get there, like the one thing that's surprising is, I mean, at least this is like from my perspective, but don't you feel like maybe we're like, I'm pro player. It seems like all of us, like Dre, especially, you're like pro player. And
Super pro player.
I feel like overall, the general public isn't necessarily being like, how are the players not playing? Like, I feel like we have come generationally to a point where we understand the ridiculousness of the ownership here. And I feel like that's at least surprising to me, because I was sort of like, like thinking back to the 94 strike when we were all in diapers and like what that meant for like the players. So that's like one thing that's surprising. Another thing that I thought of where this incident is different than other cases where there may be a shortened season, hypothetically, if like a big risk for the owners are if they start a season and they play it, and then right before the playoffs, like they pay the prorated salaries, and then right before the playoffs, COVID comes back and it's shut down. Like then it's at the point where they're losing out on a ton of revenue while also just paying off all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's like another risk and another thing that just makes this whole thing so freaky. Like it's not like something where it's like, oh, everything's all good now. We have no idea what's going to come, which like, I don't know how. I feel like the players next, like, do you guys think, should the players, is there any scenario where the players should take less than the agreement that they made in March?
I don't see. All right, so I don't think that they should take any less money than what they've already agreed to. I mean, they've already agreed to one pay cut. Like,
would you call that a pay cut?
In a way, it's a reduction in salary.
All right, so that, I feel like that, I wouldn't call it as much of a pay cut because at that point it sucks, but you're getting paid for the games that you're playing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
But do you like this pay cut that is proposed that was proposed this week? I mean, if you look at the numbers, I have Jeff Passan's tweet pulled up right now. If you look at the numbers, if a player makes $35 million, he's set to make $7.84 million.
27.2 million loss.
Some way to respect the product.
That's crazy. Like
you're asking the best players of your game, who, by the way, aren't marketed as the way they should be.
They're like
you're asking those guys to take the money that they've earned, despite the fact that they aren't the face of baseball or they're not out there growing the sport of baseball. And that's where baseball really kind of fails in itself, not helping out the players, you know?
Like, that to me, what was proposed, what pay cut is proposed, is absolutely mind-boggling. Like,
in the face, dude.
The amount. Like, I think there's, like, within reason, there's an area where the two sides can come together where the players may take another pay cut, but where also there's some other thing involved where, you know, they get some benefit from it. I mean, they're like, obviously everyone's at this point is going to lose money. They're trying to make money somehow, some way with the situation that they're in. But I think like the two sides just need to come to an agreement, to be honest. Like they need to find that middle ground.
Yeah. I was just trying to find a tweet. Kevin Pillar, he tweeted something that was like a percentage of MLB players make less than X. Let me pull it up now. Did any of you guys see the tweet?
I did not see the tweet by Pillar.
I think it was a percentage of, I think it was like 60, like 2/3 of the league make less than, I think maybe like 2 million or something. But the thing that I'm like confused, and I feel like this is where the resolution lies. It lies in, and I don't know, you guys can tell me how players will respond to this, but like the cuts are coming from majority of like the top percentage of the league. Why can't that salary be deferred out future years? Just like Bobby Bonilla that.
Yeah.
I think that they actually tried to do that. I think that was part of the proposal. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I believe that they definitely wanted to try and defer some of that money. I could be nuts on that, 1,000%, just because I'm watching The Wire and there's season 4 or 5 was regarding, you know, money losses and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that if they defer their money, then that's fine because you expect the owners to kind of make that back up.
Yeah.
But I think part of the problem, again, I keep coming back to this, is we don't know what the owners are losing. We can only see what the players are set to lose. We don't know what the owners are losing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to justify any type of pay cut for the player if you're one of the top of Major League Baseball. If you're Garrett Cole or Giancarlo Stanton or Mike Trout or Bryce Harper making this mad money because of your talent, and then all of a sudden you're just asked to cut all that, like over 75% of that.
Would
Just
players accept anything short of full open book financials?
I think so. If they can come to an agreement that benefits both sides, like if it's not something outrageous like it was offered earlier this week, like if there's some sort of benefit, I think so. Like I don't think that's the end all be all. Like I don't think they're gonna hold out until that happens. But I think that being said, I think like obviously the players need to be benefited in somehow and not take a pay cut that cuts down their salary like ridiculously amounts. I also did find that tweet. It is 65 players in the MLB make $1 million or less. Just room for thought.
65%?
65%.
Make $1 million or less?
Yeah.
So that's
keeping those salaries low.
Yeah, and they're not being cut much. So it's a third of the salaries. Could we find some? Is there ground to work? Yeah, but who knows? But one thing about what they're thinking the players' deal is going to be around is more games.
Yeah, I read something tonight.
I thought was
they want to play 100+ games,
which I thought was interesting.
I
That
found
would be
it
difficult.
if you think about it, the more games they play, how this system is based, the more games they play, the more money they make.
Yeah, but
So
what about a scenario where I don't know how much money the organizations will get from something like this, but what if they played 100 games and got paid for like 85 of them? Would the players play 15% of the games for free? And that would be money, like salary-free games. Like that's money that the owners are making. Like that's something where both the interests are sort of being met. I mean, you can call it by definition, it is a pay cut.
Yeah.
But it's to the point where it's like, okay, like it's getting a little bit more in the middle where each side to a certain degree is dissatisfied. And I think as soon as both sides realize that the only way to a resolution is a little bit of dissatisfaction for each side, that's when something's going to actually be resolved.
I don't see the players playing for free. I'll say that.
I don't either.
Even though it's a short amount of games?
Any amount of games, I don't. If it was like 5, maybe, I don't know. But like,
you don't go to work for free. That's their job. You're asking someone to go to work for free, and they're already taking the risk because of, like Brooksy said earlier, you're asking about a possible situation where this virus might come back and you just don't know it. The players have all the risk here, and a lot of people forget that. So you're asking them to take less money to risk their health, their family's health. For what? A paycheck that they didn't earn? Or a paycheck that they earn and a fraction of that?
I think it's sort of, to me, when I saw that they're like, we won 100 games, to me, that sort of cheapens their argument about risk and health.
I think
Does anybody else feel that way?
I agree with that.
I mean, I think for the players, it's all about, like, they're looking to make as much money from the lost season as they can. Because like I said, with the proposal, like, they get paid for each game they play. So the more games they play, the more money they make. So they're trying to fit in. I feel like they're trying to fit in as much money as they can. They're trying to make as much money as they can while still trying to be safe. Because multiple players have come out and said, they're worried about along with the financial aspect, they're worried about, being able to play the game safe and not being able to, there's no, like, less of an opportunity to contract the virus and things like that. So I think for them, it's all about playing as many games as they can in the stretch of time while still being able to play safe.
I have a question. I had to raise my hand just because I got to get this out there. We talk about the owners and we talk about the players, but I need to know one question only. Where the hell is Rob Manfred during all of this?
Silence.
I have not seen one statement from Manfred regarding this whole entire fiasco.
because his nuts are in the owner's purses.
Dude, it's
They
crazy.
control
Like,
it.
Limited to talking during litigation. Like, can he not talk about things during litigation?
I've not seen one thing regarding any type of comment from Rob Manfred whatsoever. Not from Zahn, not from Heyman, not from
He knows.
John
Yeah, he said a
Morosi.
bunch of like high level things, but nothing of substance.
But to me, he's the commissioner of the league. You know, Gary Bettman came out and got a 24-team playoff proposal. He said regular season's done. We're going 24 teams. This is what's happening. He put his foot down. Adam Silver, we already know, has been extremely vocal regarding the fact that basketball will happen. We just need a safe plan, and I'm working with the players diligently in order to do so. And Roger Goodell does not have to worry about anything right now. But I know for a fact that if it came down to football, actually, I lied. Scratch that. He said one thing, and one thing only, and that's that he plans to have the seats full this entire fall for football, which is crazy. I've not seen one thing about Manfred at all.
He's been silenced.
He's busy.
Crazy.
He finally, the door opened for him finally to downsize the minor leagues. Now he's just putting all of his energy there.
Which is crazy. We'll get to that today. We'll get to that tonight.
Oh, yeah, we will.
So I feel like a big divide in where people stand on this issue is whether a person sees the players agreeing to a prorated salary as an established pay cut.
Yeah.
Or is it something that's equitable given they're playing less games? Because I feel like if players or us think, oh, they already took a pay cut, then hell no, they shouldn't take another one. But if it's one of these things where it's like, well, the prorated, they agreed to that. That's something that's fair. This is a time where nobody's going to get out of this whole thing fair.
Yeah.
So then they would have to give up something to meet the owners halfway. So I feel like where people stand on that point determines where they stand on any of this.
For me, I think the idea that was pitched is on the right level, but the amount needs to be completely different than what it is. I think the amount of the pay cut, I mean, jumping from, what was it, 35?
Let's disregard that offer. Let's just pretend that never happened.
Just throw it out the window.
It was a disaster.
Yeah, it was a disaster. I'm saying if they can meet with, something like that idea somewhere in the middle where the players aren't taking a big pay cut, then I think that's the answer.
They play 15 games. Nah, they won't play for free. But it's worded in a way where it's not playing for free. I like that idea because that's something where it's like, okay, the owners have something to chew on that pleases them, that allows them to absorb a hit. Because like where things stand now, there's not going to be, if the players don't make any concession, the owners have no reason to play because they're going to lose money regardless. It's just a matter of 200 million versus 250 million.
I think the players understand that they're set to lose money. Again, they're taking the risk. My whole thing is that they don't need to be disrespected in the fact that they're losing money too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the problem. Everyone knows what these players make, but no one knows what the owners do. And I keep coming again back to this point. Open the books. You have no problems because at that point, if they can come up with a figure to say, hey, this is what we're set to lose. This is why you have to take this massive pay cut. When the Yankees go to Garrett Cole, and then when there's no fans in the stands, or 25%, which is another figure I saw that they might let. And now it's just Texas specifically, by the way, they're going to let fans in the stadium up to 25% capacity.
That's great.
So I mean, you have franchises already trying to loophole their way back into making sure that these owners get as much money as they can. But you have that, and not every state is like that. You have these players, especially the ones making all the bank, taking the massive hits, and it's crazy to me if they're taking all this hits, where are the hits that the owners are taking?
Would you be satiated if a third-party mediator would look at the financials.
Yes, and you know that should be Rob Manfred. But again, he's nowhere to be found. He's AWOL during this whole entire situation.
That's a good point. He's the perfect person to be looking at.
He should be the person to do it.
I mean, I think that is that's a way of feeding to the owner's interest, because the owners don't want the books to be seen.
They don't, and that's fine. If we don't see him, I don't care. But if the players see him and it's confidential, then whatever. And if they violate that agreement, then they should have to pay every dollar back that they earn from there on it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't care.
Lined up.
Dre, you should be the litigator.
I should be the litigator. It's not a hard issue. If I could do it, it's not that hard.
Just a matter of
scrape some of that money off the top for your hard work.
There you go.
I deserve it. It's ridiculous to me that we're sitting here at damn near June and we don't have baseball. Like, we have NASCAR, we have golf, we almost have hockey. And baseball is supposed to start in April. Like, they're the ones that have not started yet. So we're sitting here today, and they are the ones that could benefit the most from not having any other sports, and they still haven't got it figured out.
Screwing it up.
So if the owners, is there a scenario where the players would be like, holy cow, that is losing a lot of money. Okay, we'll take a pay cut, or no?
Yeah.
If they're proven that, like, the owners are going to lose a shit ton of money, then the players are like, yeah, I guess we'll take the pay cut. Then yeah, I think that works. I think they just want I think they want the information, like Dre has said, open the books so the players know exactly, what's on the line for the owners.
And some of those players, if they want that, they need to understand what they're getting into as well, because you're about to see some dirty-ass laundry be aired, and it might make you feel some type of way about your franchise. But again, you need to be in that together. If you want the books open, then you have to be prepared for what you're about to see, because some of these franchises out there are not spending money, and there's reasons for it, and the owner is pocketing it. We're seeing it here in Pittsburgh. I guarantee that's happening a lot of other places. But if that's what you want, then you have to you can't be mad about what you see. You can't feel some type of way, because you have free agency, and that's that. When you get that chance to go, you leave. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Just open the books.
Open the books, and then go from there.
It's
not hard, man.
Open the books.
Give the players just even more ammo going into the CBA. Oh, the CBA. Wait, is that in 2022?
2021. That's another issue that's really coming up too.
Oh, wait, so it starts the end of next season.
The CBA, their negotiations of the CBA should start sometime this offseason, because the next CBA is up in 2021.
Oh my God.
But that's another thing that's on the
They're going to be close. But,
That's-
and think of, like, if the players union had that information, going into a CBA,
it's going to make it ridiculous.
That makes it even, because I was like, okay, we could get somewhere with this, but no way in hell our players going to see it before a CBA.
That's why the owners are not opening their books, Brooksy.
It doesn't represent their interests. Why would they?
It's a big ass problem right now, and honestly, if there was no CBA that wasn't going to be up, then yeah. And again, pro player, open your books. Them not doing it's smart money. That's just what it is. But what do you want? Do you want to play baseball now and potentially risk losing money down the road with the CBA, or what? Because at least there, collective bargaining, there's a lot more give and take. You're not talking about a global pandemic. You're talking about the future of your sport.
Yeah.
But right now, what we're talking about is potentially not just one, because of the coronavirus, but two, because of the CBA. 2 potential years where there's not going to be baseball.
2 strikes. You know what happens when there's 3 strikes? You're out.
Don't even bring that up. Like,
I'm back to being pessimistic. There's going to be I came in here, I was like, I think players would play 10% of their games for free. Maybe some could defer their salaries. But no.
He said 15, actually.
10, 15. They make what? They make the top dogs make maybe 700,000, 800,000 a game when you add that up. But that could be deferred. That's not losing money. That part of those game salaries could be deferred. I'm just grasping. I'm just reaching for anything that I can bite into at this point.
Because that's smart. That's a
It could
smart
be nothing.
negotiation. Say we're cutting this now to line our pockets, but we're deferring this money down the road. It's just tough because you see what happens with deferred money down the road. You have Bobby Bonilla who deferred money, and he made $1 million every July 1st for the past 20 years, and he's still making another $1 million for 20 more.
And
This is
I
crazy.
feel like both sides came out of that like, okay,
Yeah.
given how crappy of a contract it was, they're like, all right. And
Yeah.
maybe this is a
It's just
scenario
so
where it's
Mets,
like
though.
we
That's
save,
just so Mets.
they could save baseball and they could just generate so much market share, and then they'll look back and be like, oh yeah, we're still paying Mike Trout $4 million every 3 months for the eternity, but it's all right.
He deserves it. I don't care. He deserves every penny.
He does deserve it. He's the greatest player of all time.
I won't go there. I will say most irreplaceable player of all time because of WAR.
Yeah, because of war. What was I gonna say? Oh, so I asked this every week, guys. Each week, is baseball coming back? Earlier this week, I was like,
It started, yes, but no.
I don't know, dude. Guys, I'm not gonna lie, I don't see baseball coming back this year.
I'm a hopeful guy. I'm a hopeful man, and I told you if we don't baseball by June 1st, there's not going to be a season. I'm telling you right now.
And we're 3 days away.
With this
Confirmation.
with these figures coming out, this is bad.
Yeah.
But I will say this. Because I did see a tweet today by John Heyman, and I'm not going to search it. I'm just going to paraphrase it because I remember it. John Heyman said there was no real concrete date for beginning of June. If he says if we're in mid-June at this point and we have nothing on the table, nothing concrete where, this is like not a non-starter, this is just, consider if you don't have consideration of an offer or a counter offer, the collective bargaining process, if you're not at least set to close by mid-June, then he's scared.
Yeah.
He said you should worry at that point. I'm worried right now because there's been 2 months and we've been in quarantine since March and a pandemic since March, and we still are no closer to baseball than what we were before.
That's what I'm saying. Like I say, if there's nothing on the table in the next 2 weeks, because it's May 28th right now. If there's nothing on the next, because you'd think you have to start games by at least mid-July, and that's if you're playing 80 games. Like they could go out and they could play 60 games, but I don't see the point in that really, to be honest. 60 game schedule, I don't know. But you would think they'd have to start by July, so you got to give them at least 2 or 3 weeks to ramp up and start throwing and working. I mean, most of these guys are probably in shape already, but you got to give them a good amount of time to get back into playing shape. And if they don't have anything on the table by middle of June, I don't see it happening. And at the stages the negotiations are right now, they got a long way to go.
Long way to go.
Figure anything out.
I'll say this.
Fans just started.
I'm
back on the optimism train. I think it's going to be all right.
Welcome back, Brooksy. I'll say
You're
this.
like a fucking roller coaster, man.
Yeah. Just walked off the cliff and then somehow just climbed back up. I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to start to realize, I think the owners are going to realize, oh crap, these PR plays that we're playing aren't working. And because this stuff isn't it's not supposed to get out. People don't want to hear it. That's not helping the perception of it.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping the players will come forward with something tomorrow. Who knows what it'll be? Maybe they'll be like, hey, we'll play 15 games for free. They won't. But I feel like they'll start to make the back and forth. I just hope that they understand the gravity of what's going on and what would happen if there's no season. Because there's not much coming back from that.
You'd lose so much. You'd lose so much of your fan base. You'd probably lose us. I mean, we're loyal baseball fans. I mean, we're loyal to the game. That's just what it is. We grew up on it.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd probably lose us. And if you didn't lose us, I'd be shocked. But I can't see a lot of people, just going back to the ballpark and being like, I miss this game.
Yeah.
I miss this game of baseball because it's already struggled as it is. Talk about the things going into the season like pace of play and all these rule changes. Like you're trying to do things like speed up the game because the speed of the game is the problem. Now we're in a whole different scenario. No one even talks about that. If there's no season, I'd be worried. I'd be worried if I was Manfred because honestly, at that point, he might get fired.
Yeah.
He has a boss too.
Imagine being the commissioner that just kills baseball.
It's sad. It sucks. It's
That-
crazy to think too that Bud Selig, who let the steroid era, kind of just happen, that he is right now, in my opinion, a better commissioner than Rob Manfred, just based off this situation alone and everything that has happened since he's taken over.
Crazy. So I mean, this isn't the only bad news we've gotten this week, guys. I guess it was today, yesterday, that teams started cutting minor league players. A bunch of minor league players were cut. These guys were making like $400 a week, and now they're just like, what does that do to baseball right there? I mean, minor leaguers getting cut, programs getting shut down. That's gotta hurt, right?
This is Brooksy things. I know Brooksy wants to talk about it, but I'll just say this. That's stupid that they did that. But again, they're trying to save money any way they can. But it's here, again, I'm going to quote Jeff Passan because he's the man. And I'm going to quote this exact tweet. I sent this to you guys on, looks like Tuesday. It says, just some rough math. Say there are 200 players in a minor league system, paying each $400 a week for July. July and August is $5,200 per player. To pay every minor leaguer would have cost the Oakland A's a hair over $1 million. And the owner of the Oakland Athletics, John Fisher, is worth an estimated $2 billion. That's all I'll say about that because, in my opinion, those figures just tell me right there that
Owners.
billionaires hurting for money to the point where, like, you can't pay your minor league players $400 a week. What are they going to do now? Go for unemployment?
They can't even pay their lease on the Coliseum.
Say it again, Brooksy.
I think I saw that the A's can't even pay their lease.
Yeah. They missed a payment this month or this past month, I think.
It's just crazy to me that these are times we're in. How's a billionaire miss a payment for his lease in Oakland?
Well, but it's like the whole thing of liquidity of that billion.
Yeah.
Like how much of that billion is in the worth of the A's,
yeah,
and how much does his equity improve? I mean, it's $1 million, like not much, but yeah, I think it sucks. It's going to come across as like super douchey, but it's like, I'm glad that a lot of teams are like, oh, we're paying them through August, or even I think the Mariners are maybe like through September, but it's just like it just sounds really heartless, but like there's casualties. Like there's just, it stinks that it's like the people that are like just getting into the minor leagues or like maybe just coming down in their twilight, and it's just like, what? Like the smallest person just completely ripped the rug out from them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just unfortunate times, and it's just like something that's going to further damage the game. Because think of the perception of the players. Like the players union is already just so like pissed at the organizations. And think of when the players union is made up of these minor leaguers that were like, hey, like you didn't have $1 million for us. But that made me think of another point. If the MLB's players union is so strong, why isn't there like any, it doesn't have to be a strong union, but why isn't there any sort of union for the farm systems that like
they don't have, I would feel like they don't have leverage.
Yeah.
But they're the future of it. Like the MLB players union has a ton of leverage.
I get that. I really do.
Why can't they carry along, what's the thing where it's like, oh, you help the little person along with you.
Big brothers, big sisters.
Yeah.
There's some like adage like, oh, you're climbing the ladder. Remember to like look down for those below you. I want to see the Players Association. I don't know. Maybe it's a lot to expect, but there's a future of it.
It's just tough because for every minor leaguer that you think should unionize, you're going to have another minor leaguer who's like, this could be my chance to now make it to the big time. There's just so many levels, and every single year, guys are replaced near the top of the totem pole. You see guys rise, you see guys fall, you see guys get traded, guys fall out of prospect status, like high-end prospect status so quickly. It's crazy. That would be my only issue.
Yeah,
that would be the
it's
only
complicated.
issue why, like, they don't unionize.
It's complicated, not like it has to be a iron strong union, but just some sort of protection. Like they're just getting eviscerated. And like that was Manfred's plan, not exactly this, but to downsize the minor leagues. Like that was even before COVID, it was like, oh, like there goes the minor leagues, at least in the degree of what it is today. And there's just no protection whatsoever for them.
All I know is if I'm a minor leaguer and if I'm that billionaire, John Fisher, you should have took the advice of your man from Oakland. Take care of your mental, take care of your chicken. Marshawn Lynch quoted that, and he wasn't wrong.
It sounds like he could be the third party mediator in this.
Honestly, I'm glad we're talking about this somehow, some way, because Marshawn Lynch, when they lost the Oakland Raiders, he begged and pleaded. He's like, don't you dare lose the Oakland Athletics. If John Fisher got a sale, I hope to God Marshawn Lynch ends up the owner of the Oakland A's.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, none of this shit would happen. He'd take care of his mentals and their chicken. Wow.
I don't think there's any better way to end this episode than that right there. Like ending it.
There's the title for it.
And the Marshawn Lynch quote, I think is the best way to do this. So that's all the time we have for tonight, guys. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Art of the Order. Protect your chicken.
Protect your chicken and your mental.
Let's get ankle tattoos of that.
Peace out, guys.